You can build a foundation on, and I know Jimmy Johnson has talked about that Eric Jones and the process and this team going through with the relationship with Toyota is something that really has blossomed here. But Eric has pinpointed the last 8 months this team has done a really, really nice job, and he hopes to have it continue here at his home track, Michigan International Speedway, this weekend.
Yeah, and Eric Jones, who ran this past Tuesday night up at Berlin Raceway, running in the Money of the Bank race over there, just coming back here to Michigan, and he's so actively involved with charitable issues and endeavors here in his home state of Michigan as well. He's just one of those drivers. He's quiet, he's unassuming. Put a helmet on him, 2 fists full of steering wheel, and Eric Jones, he becomes a bulldog.
Yeah, he likes to get those elbows up, but he's got to have the equipment to do it, and it sounds like that they're taking steps in that direction. Speaking of giving someone some equipment and having something good to do with it, let's talk a little bit about Austin Dillon. He's second on the leaderboard here in Group 1. We've got 3.5 minutes to go. Flying the Dow colors this weekend, he brings that red and black Chevrolet to the attention of his pit crew. Let's be honest, the performance at Richard Childress Racing has been spotty at best in 2025. They've had moments to where, in the case of Austin, he rattled off 3 top 10 finishes in a row. He was 10th at Bristol. He was 10th at Talladega, 7th at Texas. I think there's some optimism in play this weekend. Austin's on the track right now. Kyle Busch will be on the track in Group 2. This is another team that's trying to find their way with performance that obviously needs to be improved.
And you mentioned those 3 top 10s. What's significant to me about those is they're now coming in the last 6 races. So the trend is starting to go in the right direction for Austin Dillon and Richard Childress Racing as well.
Yeah, and I think part of that comes from their support team. I feel like Kaulig has kind of helped this program in just giving them another couple data points to share through the weekend. A.J. Allmendinger coming back to the 16 car at Kaulig, I think it's been good for everybody at the One Welcome campus.
Well, you talk about A.J. Allmendinger, he is 7th in the 5-lap average, and then when you slide over, the speed kind of falls off a little more, so it's looking like that, they've got short run speed. They're trying to develop long run speed. Overall, 11th of the 18 drivers in this practice session, 193.793. So Kaulig Racing obviously not where they want to be, and they had that mantra, One Welcome, which obviously both teams are headquartered in Welcome, North Carolina. They share the same campus there, RCR and Kaulig, and they're all trying to work together. Basically, that's the mantra of a rising tide raises all boats, and they're hoping to get that tide higher up in Welcome, North Carolina, so to speak.
Right now, Austin Dillon second best on single lap speeds. Alex Bowman is the fastest, and Ty Gibbs is third quick. Now, Todd, the interesting dynamic, and it is Saturday morning. I get that. We're 9:30 in the morning when this all started, as we're about to wrap up this Group A practice. But Alex Bowman from Hendrick Motorsports was the only Hendrick car in this practice. The other 3 are in the next practice. Same in that dynamic with Joe Gibbs Racing. Ty Gibbs was the only Gibbs car in his practice. The other 3 are in Group B. Is there an advantage to those other 3 cars for each one of those teams to get this valuable feedback?
Of course there is. This is an opportunity. You know where everybody's been, where their balance is, what their particular setup looks like. And you look at this one, and if you're in Group 2, you've got the advantage of looking at your teammates' comments, their runs. You can look at their tires. You've got an opportunity to kind of digest this in the 10-minute break that you've got before you go out there, and it maybe puts you one adjustment ahead of where they were, and it gives you insight into what your practice is going to be like. Chris Wilner?
And Todd, you were mentioning about the benefits of having that one driver out there. Well, on the Joe Gibbs Racing Camp, that is Ty Gibbs. He's now done for this practice session. Was really happy with the race car, but to that point, all 3 of the other crew chiefs for Joe Gibbs Racing have been down in this pit box talking with crew chief Tyler Allen, as well as competition director Chris Gabehart, to also get some notes. You guys mentioned how fast he's been on the single lap, but also over the long run. So some notes being shared here in the Joe Gibbs Racing Camp. Be curious to see how that translates as drivers like Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell all get ready in practice group number 2.
Got a car off the pace with a flat left rear tire. It's Shane Van Gisbergen. He's limping that car all the way around turns 3 and 4 to the point with the flat left rear. That Goodyear tire has been cut away from the rim. He took that car with the left side, put it on the grass all.
And he wins his 200th career NASCAR victory.
Told by the people who made that history.
President Reagan was there. He got us on the front page, and we got him in the sports page. It was a good trade-off from that standpoint.
Motor Racing Network's NASCAR Live presents podcast The Road to Royalty. Jeff Gordon, A Colorful Career, 50 Years of MRN, the 1993 season, Junior's Journey, and more. Search for NASCAR Live on your favorite podcast platform.
Back at Michigan, Group 1 practice is over, ending with a problem with Shane Van Gisbergen, a flat left rear tire. He's brought the car to pit road. Steve Hosher there.
Yeah, indeed, and they just walked the tire over the wall down here. Crew members, 2 of them up under the left side of the car, taking a look at the under part of the car. We talk about that underwing, and that's a critical part. One crew member now taking a real close look at that, even up on the top part of it. One crew a little bit further up under the center of the car to see how much damage they have on the undercarriage of this race car. So got other crew members working up under the hood of the front of the car. I think that's just more general maintenance and general preparation, but these 2 guys on the back, not a really big sign of concern. Shane has climbed out of the race car. He's in debrief mode right now with Stephen Dorr, his crew chief, as they talk about what happened and what brought him to this point. But they're actually just bringing out now and just looking at some cleaners and some things just to take a look at all the underskirts of the car to see if there's any damage on it. So right now the sense, and I'm just relying on body language more than conversation, is that he really did a masterful job at keeping this car as clean as possible with a flat left rear tire all the way around the racetrack. There is not a big undertaking down here. They seem like they're pretty comfortable, and that maintenance on the front of it looks like they're going to try to go qualify with this car. So looks like SVG probably did a pretty good job in saving that race car after that tire went down.
Now, we'll find out what the exact damage was and why it was cut down there. We'll talk a little bit more about air pressures here in just a moment. First, to Chris Wilner.
Ty Gibbs out of the race car, 3rd on the single lap speed. I know the long run speed was good as well. What did you learn over the course of that 25 minutes?
Yeah, I learned how my balance kind of trended and the way it went. I felt very happy with our car. I think we're always pretty good in practice as well. So it's about making the right adjustments in the race and staying up front.
Obviously, the pace is fast, just with how cool it is out here. You're the first group, but where did that balance trend go over the course of the long run? You only came down once, really, for an adjustment.
Yeah, I came down once. We didn't make an adjustment there. We were just coming in to check temps, but I thought it was very well. I was very happy with our DEG, and I feel like we've got a fast monster engine for the Camry.
We've been talking a lot about dirty air. What is it like? I know you didn't really have a ton of dirty air out there, but where was that kind of trend, and how do you fight that, of course, when we get to racing tomorrow?
Yeah, I definitely had dirty air when I caught the 48 there and got around them, but it was it's definitely there for sure. Especially when you go, some are faster, you're punching more of a hole in the air, and it makes more of a difference. So, but it's always a problem in these cars.
It's going to be fun to watch. Ty Gibbs, quickest, or in the top 5, I should say, in practice here, as he'll watch the rest of his Joe Gibbs Racing teammates come out in Group B.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Motor Racing Network. The NASCAR Cup Series is at Michigan International Speedway today for practice and qualifying for the Firekeepers Casino 400. Motor Racing Network here with you in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Mike Bagley, Alex Hayden, Todd Gordon topside, Chris Wilner, Steve Post in the pits and in the garage. We have completed Group 1 practice, Group 2 coming up. Group 2 will get 25 minutes, and then everybody will get 1 lap of qualifying for the race here tomorrow. We're in the middle of a break, everybody getting reset, as Group 2 will go in just a few moments. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
We're at the start-finish line.
William Byron on pole position. Green flag is out and we're racing.
We're in the turn.
Here to the inside comes Kyle Larson. He and Hamlin bump.
We're on pit road.
4 tires Sonoma Racing Fuel. The race out from pit road is Denny Hamlin. Eric Jones goes off.
We are live from the track. The Motor Racing Network, your home for NASCAR racing. Don't miss a lap, pit stop, or side-by-side race for the win. Listen to all the play-by-play action on your local radio station and MRN or NASCAR.com.
Relive the thrills of over 50 years of NASCAR racing with the Motor Racing Network's classic race.
36th Annual Southern 500. They come down to the start-finish line. Bill Elliott and David Pearson get down.
We dig into the MRN audio vault for unforgettable races and moments.
Dale Jarrett's got the lead. Earnhardt's not going to get him. Dale Jarrett is going to win the Daytona 500.
Available on MRN.com and podcast platform.
Alan Kulwicki out of turn number 4, the new Winston Cup champion. He does it across the line.
MRN Classic Races.
Back at Michigan International Speedway in the middle of practice for the Firekeepers Casino 400. If you're just joining us, Alex Bowman has turned the fastest lap so far with a time of 36.926 seconds and a speed of 194.985 miles per hour.
As he works on his car down there, Group 2 cars getting set to go out on the track. We mentioned right at the end of Group A practice, Shane Van Gisbergen cut down a left rear Goodyear tire. Steve Post has a little bit more on that story.
Well, just looking at the tire here, and to describe the way a tire is, you've got the sidewalls and you got the tread path, and in between is the shoulder area. And what has failed on this tire is the shoulder. It is the left side shoulder, the outboard shoulder of the left rear tire. There's a failure around one corner of it, and then there's another place where it blew out a little bit further up around the tire. So a shoulder failure on the tire. So sometimes we'll see like a gaping hole or something in the sidewall or something even in the tread that maybe wiped the tire out. But looking at the shoulder separation on the tire, Todd Gordon, I'm going to bring you in as an expert crew chief. This looks like pushing some air pressure to the degree, but what's your thoughts on what we're seeing with the shoulder failure here of the SVG left rear tire?
Yeah, when you see a tire that kind of separates right there at the shoulder of the contact patch, that's typically an underinflation, over-cambered situation. And you can fix it one of two ways, but air pressure is the biggest thing here. It's not, I'm going to back up. Typically, this is a place we see speed out of our race cars at a vulnerability. So this is one of those risk and reward calls that crew chiefs have. And for SVG, the fact that they could have this failure, they kind of understand the limit of where they've got to go, where they can't get down to air pressure wise, and they really didn't pay much of a penalty for it.
What is over cambered?
That's a good question. So the more camber, when you tilt, especially this is the left side, so it'd be the inside tire. So if you tilt the top of the tire out, it makes more grip that way. But then all of the load is on that shoulder of the tire as you're running around this place. So the deflection of that all happens on one shoulder, and then that shoulder will end up working and fail like this can be. So too much camber can make it work through the shoulder, but typically that deflection you have is driven by the fact that it has less air in it, and that lets it over deflect. So more camber makes this worse. If you stood this tire straight up and down, then it shares that load on both shoulders. You've got less load on it, but typically the more air that's in this will support that and keep the tire integrity.
From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
NASCAR fans, the time is now to turn your love of racing into free tickets, merchandise, VIP experiences, and much, much more. Rack up fan rewards points by watching races at home, playing fantasy, completing challenges, and visiting tracks. Then redeem your points for epic prizes. You are in the driver's seat. What are you waiting for? Sign up for the free NASCAR Fan Rewards loyalty program today at NASCAR.com/fan rewards.
Hi, folks. Kyle Petty here. I want to tell you about a place that's dear to my heart, Victory Junction. It's a year-round camp that gives kids with complex medical and physical conditions life-changing experiences that are fun, empowering, and always free for families. Please help Victory Junction support kids who need it the most by making a donation today. Any amount will help kids attend camp for free. Help make a difference by visiting victoryjunction.org/donate.
Back at Michigan, Group 2 cars are beginning to roll off the pit lane and out on the racetrack. The fastest driver overall so far has been Alex Bowman. He's with Chris Wilner.
Yeah, tops the charts in Group A. So, Alex, after that session, what did you learn about this Chevrolet in terms of overall pace, but maybe what it was like over the long run as well?
Yeah, I think obviously overall pace we're decent. Long run we struggled a little bit just with where we built to, so got a little bit of work to do to catch up with a couple guys on the long run stuff, which I think we know the direction we need to go to fix that. So yeah, made a couple changes. I thought we're good. Feel like our Ally Camaro's okay. It's tough to say until the better group goes, but we'll find out here shortly.
I know you and I talked a little bit before we started about being in that first group. So do you learn anything for qualifying, knowing the track's going to be completely different for your round of qualifying?
It's tough. Like, the way these cars are and the tires are, they just pick up all the rubber as qualifying goes, and the last guy gets the cleanest racetrack. So going this early is going to suck, but it's my fault for crashing last week. So it's got to be better, and hopefully we can kind of get through this weekend, have a good solid day, and kind of reset back to where we should be.
Appreciate your time. Alex Bowman topping the charts in practice group number 1, group 2 out on the racetrack.
And group 2 will consist of Daniel Suarez, Zane Smith, Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain.
Along with Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, Carson Hocevar, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney.
So on the racetrack right now, Alex Bowman's fast lap is still intact, although everybody's still not fully onto the racetrack yet. While they get themselves up to full operating situations, Bubba Wallace has turned one lap and slides into 12th of this group. Well, that's going to change right now. Here we go. William Byron, Hendrick Motorsports. He'll go to number 4 overall, 194.432. Chase Briscoe, Alex, just went to the top of the leaderboard. Wow.
Fastest car is Briscoe. He's the first driver in the 195-mile-an-hour bracket. He's been joined by his teammate Christopher Bell all of a sudden. Both of those drivers eclipsing the 195-mile-an-hour mark. So Chase Briscoe, by the way, who's won the last 2 pole positions that we've had qualifying, he is now the fastest in single lap speeds coming out of this group. Christopher Bell is second overall. That will move around because Chris Buescher has gone to the second spot to move Bell back to third.
The interesting thing about this, we mentioned this in the Group 1 practice session, that the Gen 7 qualifying record was set 2 years ago by Christopher Bell at a speed of 193.4. Right now, you've got the top 23 cars in practice that are faster than that qualifying lap from 2 years ago.
It's amazing what this garage does week after week, learning about these race cars and building notebooks.
Let's not give the crew chiefs all the credit here. It is 9:30 in the morning. This place, the racetrack's got a ton of grip in it. I don't feel like we had qualifying this early in the past. I don't know that for sure, but Mother Nature has a lot to do with this.
Why does the track have more grip at 9:30 in the morning?
Well, it's cooler, and if you think about it, the tires make more grip when the asphalt's cooler. Now, obviously, it can get too cold for that, but that allows the tire not to overheat It grips the racetrack up. Think about night racing. We get faster as we go into night because the suns come off of the racetrack, the track temperature cools down, and the other part is the air is denser because it's cooler out. That makes more downforce. The air is cooler and denser, makes more power. So there's the ability. It's easier to go wide open at this point, but there's a ton of grip out here.
Right now, Chase Briscoe continuing to back up that fast lap that he put in. 195.482 miles an hour. Only 3 drivers are in that 195 mile an hour territory. Joining Chase Briscoe is Chris Buescher and Christopher Bell. You got 3 Bs right now, 1, 2, and 3 in the 195 plus.
What is interesting, though, with Chase Briscoe's lightning quick single lap, he's now completed 5 consecutive laps. He is 7th out of the 5-lap average cars. So while the car was certainly really good on 1 lap, he's now beginning to backslide a bit now on the 5 consecutive lap average.
And one of the things we talked about earlier, getting back in dirty air and working his way, Chris Buescher, P2 on it, right now is over there into turn 3, really working on trying to get around the car, working the bottom, working the lines like we talked about learning from his race car.
Right now, Chris comes off the corner, and he tried to open up the inside lane. But I'll say this, he is hanging with Chastain step for step right now, and it is fascinating watching Chris come across the start-finish line because Ross was tightly behind his teammate in Daniel Suarez, Alex. Now he's kind of fallen back, and Chris Buescher's gone to work.
He has. He's gone to the inside and made the pass on Ross Chastain. Once he did that, Chastain just kind of got out of the throttle. Now Chastain's going to try to play that same role. What can his car do now in a little bit of dirty air? Let's establish with these transactionals, Todd Gordon, a lot of tracks we know drivers downshift in corners, upshift on straightaways. Do you anticipate any shifting here at all?
I don't, especially when you're running wide open like this. The RPM range here, I'm looking at it playing out on our screen here, maybe 8,600 at the end of the straightaway, but they back up a little bit. It seems like it's about a 700-800 RPM range. It's not worth downshifting. You put it outside of its power range.
Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon. They're the Fast 5 at the moment. And, of course, Alex, we're focusing in on that average that we talk about, the 5 and the 10 and the 15. Obviously, Ty Gibbs exercised a lot of consistency in that department from Group 1. We see William Byron that leads that 5-lap average. But looking at that 10 and that 15, William Byron and that car fall off. Matter of fact, they're not even in the top 10. Of course, that will improve, or they'll pop up there once they continue to rattle off these laps.
Yeah, they will, and we'll wait and see patiently exactly where they'll fall in line on the 10 consecutive lap average, and we'll bring that to you in a moment. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've never been one to idly watch someone else do something for you. There's pride in self-reliance, in working with your hands, in harnessing the power of an E3 spark plug with Diamond Fire technology, yielding better engine performance. You have a choice to make. Take control of your ride, of your life, or be the passenger princess of it. Visit e3sparkplugs.com to put the power in your hands.
At Aero, we believe it's time to get more Wi-Fi from your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi that delivers on the promise of Wi-Fi 7 with lightning-fast speeds and minimal latency. Wi-Fi that lets us do all the things all at once and keeps us safe at the same time. It's time for Wi-Fi that's so reliable and easy, you don't even have to think about it. It's not too good to be true. It's just Aero. Learn more at Aero.com. That's EERO.com. Aero, the way Wi-Fi should be.
The voice of NASCAR, the Motor Racing Network.
Group B practice is ongoing here at Michigan International Speedway for the NASCAR Cup Series Firekeepers Casino 400 as these drivers continue to work around the track. You know, there's been some sun poking through, but Todd, for the most part, we've got overcast skies today. So you pointed out the cooler temperatures, though in the fact that overcast, that's going to help things.
It all makes race cars go faster. I don't know how relative this is to actual race time, though, because the pace will slow down when the track gets slicker. grip will go away. You're still trying to work on your balance, and we've seen some cars that are working through that dirty air there. You take everything you can out of this practice, but I definitely don't expect our race pace to be probably even in the second range. I would take it back up at least a second come race time.
Just backing up to the conversation we had during the commercial, looking at it on the racetrack, and, you know, every now and then a race car will catch your eye, and you'll be like, wow. The car can go anywhere at once and maintain the speed. And we have one on the racetrack right now, Todd, that's doing exactly that.
Yeah, Chris Buescher looks impressive. They P2 on their speed there, but they've backed it back up. Here we are, 12 laps in. I talked earlier about this with John Hunter Nemechek. But
Todd, hang on a second. We got a problem on the racetrack for Ryan Blaney. Blaney is off the pace, and something's wrong with the left front. We got trouble on the racetrack right now, and the red flag is flying for a problem for Ryan Blaney off turn 2.
Yeah, he's going to pull down to the inside of the track and park that Menards Ford Mustang Dark Horse, and that'll bring everybody to pit road while they try to figure out, and our Steve Post and Chris Wilner are hot on that story trying to figure out exactly what the issue is. What does this do with everybody else now, Todd, that was out there trying to get consecutive laps in?
The good part here is that you don't see a lot of lap time fall off, so you've got the opportunity to come pit road, and you can kind of make a change and see where you go from here. As we talk about this, it's consistent. This racetrack is consistent. There's a lot of racetracks I'd hate to see this break in my run, but this is one that I think you can actually benefit from.
So the wrecker has arrived on the scene, the safety officials as well, tending to Ryan Blaney, who is coasted to a halt just off turn 2 and at the head end of the back straightaway. Steve Post, what's the deal? What's going on with Blaney?
Left front tire blew going down into turn number 1. That's really all we have right now with Ryan, and they're working on going to jack the car up so they don't do any damage to it, but a left front tire failure for Ryan Blaney. And what they've got is they're going to use those hydraulic lifts on the car to get it up off from the ground and not do any damage to the underside of this race car.
So that is something that they started using, and teams, it's an option whether they want to use that or not to raise the car up just a bit. There's right behind what we call the A post on the race car, which is the roll bar area of the driver's side of the compartment, basically on the hood side of the window. Todd, they can plug in one of the NASCAR trucks, the safety trucks comes out, they plug in an air compressor, and that lifts the car up.
Yeah, I've got a nitrogen bottle, and as long as it's got pressure to it, it's a high pressure system, but it lifts up the 2 rear shocks. That's the 2 that it works with, and you may question why you said it was a left front failure, but they're going to hook this up with the tow truck, and they're going to pick it up. And if you think about it, it's like a teeter-totter off the rear axle. The diffuser sticks out to the back of the car. So if you pick the front up and drug it back here to pit road, it would drag the back of the diffuser off. So they energize this, jack the rear of the car up, so then they can pick the front of the car up and not destroy the diffuser.
And that is exactly what is happening right now on the backstretch. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Every time the siren sounds or lights flash, someone's life is on the line. At Whelen Engineering, we know first responders carry that weight every day. That's why for over 70 years, we've led the emergency warning industry, designing and manufacturing the lights, sirens, and safety systems they trust right here in America. Because when the mission is critical, there's no room for second best. Whelen Engineering, trusted to protect first responders.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-212-2828. 800-212-2828. That's 800-212-2828.
Back at Michigan International Speedway, we're under the red flag here in Group 2 for a problem for Ryan Blaney. Had a left front failure coming off the end of the front straightaway into turn 1. Right now that car's been attached to the wrecker, and they are taking it basically through the infield and to the NASCAR Cup Series garage and ultimately back to pit lane. It would look like that with all of this that's going on, that's going to severely limit Ryan's remaining practice time on the racetrack. However, I think the most important thing, and we just described it up here in the booth and on the pit lane, Alex, the last thing you want to do is rip the nose or the back end of this thing off trying to get it back to pit road. Be very gingerly, handle with care, as it were, because you don't want to create a situation that's going to cost you tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, Todd, let's dive a little deeper. You mentioned the diffuser at the back of the car. I know it's difficult to try to describe, but the downforce, or at least the majority of the downforce, comes from the back of these cars.
It comes from under the car as well, and that's something different than what we had with the Gen 6 car. The air kind of, if you look at the splitter on the front, it's got a raised section in the middle to kind of energize air into it. That leads to a carbon floor. It's very smooth underneath these cars. And then the back, that basically expands that air back up. And there's kind of a rake to it, and it's got channels and tunnels in it. And that's where probably 3/4 of the downforce for this car is made on that rear diffuser. Now, they work. In order to get that, there is huge advantages to getting that diffuser down even 100,000ths of an inch. Even an 1/8 of an inch will make a big difference. So if you drug this thing back, just picking the front up, and you wore an 1/8 of an inch off the skirts of that diffuser, you're going to lose a couple 100 pounds of downforce for qualifying and for the race.
Is this as big a loss as some may think it would? Right now, they're still on the racetrack over there in turn 2. They're not even turned in to come through the infield, but they got to come all the way through the infield and get that car back out on pit road. Meanwhile, we're about to go back under green, and the clock's going to be ticking. That's going to limit their practice time. Is that a big deficit for them?
I would. It's a no. Right now, I don't. You're not going to put another tire on and go back out. So for Jonathan Hassler and Ryan Blaney, they just need to get this car back in as little damage as they can to work their day forward from here.
You mentioned the diffuser. I want to circle back to that just a bit, that carbon fiber piece underneath the race car on the back side of it. You said if it gets worn down by dragging on the concrete or the asphalt, it kills part of the downforce. So the next logical question, if you're a race fan, is say, well, why don't you just change it when you get to the infield and put another one on?
You're not allowed to. That's a piece that would be unapproved adjustments. So if you have a situation, if they drug it off here, they would qualify today, because you're not allowed to change those things on pit road. They would go ahead and do their qualifying today, and then in the impound, they would go ahead to doing an unapproved adjustment. And that's not saying they were deceitful. They would just be doing something that's not on the list of approved adjustments. They know that if they change that they're going to have to go to the back because of it. And that's something these crew chiefs in NASCAR will talk about and figure out how they work forward.
Just an update, they're not taking the car to the infield. They're going to actually take it reverse course on the apron. They're in turn 2 right now, Steve Poston. And I'm sure the crew is antsy, wanting to get basically their race car back.
They want to get their hands on the race car, but it's been fascinating to listen to this discussion and really to overlay it with what you guys have been talking about. The one Team Penske member on the scene out there is Ryan Blaney. And so Jonathan Hassler was very descriptive and tell them to lift the front end up, tell them to do this to make sure. The spotter, and we're looking at some big television monitors on NASCAR TV, and they are looking and to see how far that diffuser is off the ground. When we look at it, that right front tire, the tire that is up, is just an inch or 2 off from the ground. So they literally have done a masterful job at finding that balance of being able to tow the race car. And it's probably 4 or 5 inches now, because they did make one adjustment to it, but still, the spotter just told them the diffuser is way off from the racetrack. It's not in any danger. So it is interesting, the communication, and to think about that Ryan Blaney was the only one out there to work with the track safety personnel. He couldn't see it from the cockpit, but listening to the spotters and listening to those watching on NASCAR TV, they've been able to bring that car down and hopefully not do any damage. You're right, they're chomping at the bit. They want to get their hands on the race car, but they don't want to get their hands on a wounded race car. They want to get their hands on a race car that they can put some tires on, make some adjustments, and go qualify with here in a few moments.
Where does the frustration level come in, Todd? If you're one of the other Group 2 cars out there in teams, you're losing your practice time right now waiting on this car to get put back on the pit lane.
You are, but we've seen NASCAR actually add time to these sessions and kind of give back some of this red flag time in different situations. And I would expect that we may see that as well here coming forward. But if I don't get that, yeah, I'm losing an opportunity. I've gained an opportunity because during this I can talk to my driver and maybe come up with a game plan of what changes I want to make. And if we go back green and NASCAR gives us our time back, it's a benefit for me. But I want to get my practice going again. You see the guys lined up out here.
As they finally have gotten Blaney's car at least on the pit lane, coming the opposite direction for right now. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Hello?
Hey, it's your man tank again. I just talked to the taste buds. We're all worried about you, Tim.
What do you mean? I love eating veggies. The crunch, I've never felt better.
You sure?
I think so.
You're really sure?
Yeah, man. Seriously.
You're not doing this to me, Tim. You're doing this to us. Just rip open some jerky, all right? Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Official meat snack of NASCAR. Feed your wild side.
You've been through one diet after another, and the weight still came back. You may think it's about willpower, but really it's about science. With Voi's weight loss program, we combine medication with expert support, all tailored to your goals. From Voi clinicians checking in on you, to a personal coach keeping you motivated. Join 100,000 people seeing results with medication at joinvoi.com/go. Treatments will only be prescribed if deemed appropriate.
As providers and MRN.com.
Back in Michigan, the green light goes back on and practice will resume. And everybody in Group 2 is now beginning to roll back on the track with the exception of Ryan Blaney. His car is being towed back to the entrance to the garage where the team has greeted it right at the opening. He has not gone into the garage. They've just dropped the car off there as everybody else pulls back out on the racetrack. And as of right now, NASCAR has not added time to the Group 2 practice. So things are going to be much shorter right now for these teams to get back out there and accomplish what they had on their checklist.
I'm sure there's some politicking going on why we don't get some time back. But this is an opportunity. They had an opportunity to work on the race cars and see what they can. This is part of what happens here.
Under 14 minutes to go in this Group 2 practice for the Firekeepers Casino 400. And again, Chase Briscoe has turned in the fastest lap of the single lap run so far, 195.482. And of course, later in just about an hour or so, will be less than that. We'll be qualifying for the race tomorrow. And Chase Briscoe is going to go for his third consecutive pole in the NASCAR Cup Series.
Yeah, he won it at the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte, backed it up with a pole last week at the Nashville Super Speedway. And, you know, he got his pole at the Daytona 500 earlier this year. They figured out qualifying over there, and Chase Briscoe is doing a nice job in his new role at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Right now on the racetrack, they've got speed. Of course, if you think back to the successes of James Small and Martin Truex Jr. in years prior in this car has always had speed here at MIS. They have not been bashful about flexing muscle on that Toyota Camry. Looks like the speed is still in place. I think we're going to have to tune in for execution and closure during the race, which is something that the team has had challenges with here in 2025.
Yeah, definitely one of those situations. It's part of being new together, but I feel like, to your point, I feel like Martin Truex Jr., especially race time, has had really good pace here. Sometimes they haven't even qualified great, and they've really had great race pace. So it does look like NASCAR kind of stopped the clock and restarted the clock. These guys won't be at a net negative here, deficit-wise. They'll have the time to run as many laps as anybody did.
You mentioned that Martin Truex Jr., the former driver of this car that Briscoe is driving. You do a direct comparison. The entire season last year for Truex in this car compared to this small sample size of 14 races for Chase Briscoe, and the numbers are strikingly similar already just through 14 races. Briscoe actually has the advantage. 3 poles. Truex only had 2 poles all of last year. Best finish for Truex was second last year. Well, Briscoe's is third so far. Both had 5 top 5s, and it's only taken Briscoe only 14 starts to get that, where Truex had all 36 starts to get 5 top 5s. So the numbers are strikingly similar for what Briscoe's been able to do here in the first 14 races.
It's that getting to know you and learning you period. Again, Chase Briscoe and James Small have been to all of these tracks once. I'm curious to see how they will improve when they come back again, because Chase Briscoe is not Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. is not Chase Briscoe. Drivers have nuances. Going through something together the first time and the learnings that go along with that, what do you bring to the track when you come back to a track or a track type the second time through?
A notebook of what you need to be successful together, and what you liked and what you didn't like. I'm actually, one of the pieces I brought up here are looking at Christopher Bell. P2 on his second run. He was out there after this break, fired back off with more speed than he had before, moved himself up a spot to P2, 195.397 miles an hour refiring.
That's a good point, because Briscoe set his fastest lap on lap 2. Christopher Bell turned his fast lap on his 11th lap on the racetrack.
There's speed out there to be had for these teams. How will that translate, however, when it's time to go qualifying here in just a bit? That all certainly remains to be seen, but it's fun when you come to Michigan. Just the pure speed that everybody gets to witness here at 195 miles an hour. Keep in mind, there's no draft on that. These are the drivers just ripping around this track by themselves. The draft, once we start racing, will come into play here at Michigan tomorrow for the Firekeepers Casino 400. They won't be able to run like a Daytona or Talladega wide open around the track in a bunch, but it will be very similar to that. And that's why this place gets so many fans.
Had a chance to visit with Zane Smith the other day, and he talked about that the draft is in play. It's not a Daytona or a Talladega draft. He says if you're running third in line, what you want to have happen is those two cars to get side by side and create that huge wake, and you can come charging up in that wake, and then next thing you know, you make that move and you can pass both those cars. So that's the wake and the draft effect that we're talking about. We always see that, Todd, on tracks this big. When you get cars side by side, the guy or guys behind that side by side battle capitalize from that.
It's a double win, because you got a bigger hole to go through here, and now we've got another car on slowing down here. Tyler Reddick, who has run decently fast pace. He's into, looks like, turn 3 with a really slow tire. He stopped on the racetrack.
Looks like a left rear is down on the Mobil 1 Toyota for Tyler Reddick. And now the red flag goes in the air, and we're going to have to slow practice down again as Tyler Reddick has a left rear tire down. And let's kind of make sure we say this, because it's not a tire failure. It's not a Goodyear issue out here. Todd explained it perfectly a little earlier. These crew chiefs and these teams are pushing the envelope on the air pressures on these tires.
The second red flag flies with 8 minutes and 51 seconds remaining in practice. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've been through one diet after another, and the weight still came back. You may think it's about willpower, but really it's about science. With Voi's weight loss program, we combine medication with expert support, all tailored to your goals. From Voi clinicians checking in on you, to a personal coach keeping you motivated. Join 100,000 people seeing results with medication at joinvoi.com/go. Treatments will only be prescribed if deemed appropriate.
Platform.
We are under the green flag. Listen up, NASCAR fans. Now's the time to turn your love of racing into big-time prizes. Because NASCAR Fantasy Live is your fast lane to bragging rights.
Furious racing here.
Pick 5 drivers each week of the season. Then complete additional challenges to stack points. All for your shot at the grand prize. So let's get this party started. For official rules and to learn more, visit NASCAR.com/fantasy and sign up today.
Back at Michigan International Speedway under the second red flag for Group 2 practice for the Firekeepers Casino 400. Tyler Reddick with a problem on the left rear has coasted to a halt in the middle of turn number 3, and the safety teams are on the scene tending to Tyler. Let's check in with Steve Post on the pit lane.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating discussion down here, especially what we just dealt with Ryan Blaney, okay? Ryan Blaney had a front tire down, And so what they did is they lifted the front and towed the car back. In this instance with Tyler Reddick, it is a left rear tire flat. So what they've done is they've gone out, they've hooked a hydraulic system in place, and that raises the car up. And then in this instance, because they don't want to pick the front or the rear end of the car up and tear off the front end of the race car, he's going to be able to limp this race car down pit road. Quite the discussion here. Same situation. In the case you had Ryan Blaney was the only Team Penske representative out at the scene. In this instance, it was Tyler Reddick, and Tyler says, tell me what you want me to tell them to do. There's also communication with Billy Scott and the NASCAR officials here, but with Tyler Reddick, as they said, do not let them hook anything to the car. And now Tyler has got that car jacked up on the hydraulic system, and he is limping that car down, and he'll be down here to the attention of the crew. So very different approaches to this, and the difference is a left front tire versus a left rear tire, the flat differences between Ryan Blaney and Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, definitely a good explanation there, Steve. As you talked about, Blaney used the same system to jack the rear up because they knew they were going to lift the front up. Here they just jacked the rear up because it was a flat tire. That allowed him to drive it back and come to pit road. Almost there, I think we'll see this place go green pretty quickly.
But this is all the reason why we have practice as the green flag goes back in the air. It gives the teams, gives the drivers an opportunity to try to figure out exactly where the line is as far as getting the car as low to the ground to maximize your downforce without creating a problem for yourself when it comes race time.
Yeah, definitely. And just to, if you think about it, as a crew chief, getting that diffuser lower is a performance advantage. So you'll actually take air out of the tires just because you can't travel the car anymore. The only thing you've got left is tires. So they'll run the rear tires as low as they can, durability-wise, and to get it down to have more performance. And that's going to show up even greater here because the speeds are so high with this cool practice.
There will not be an extension of time after this most recent escapade on the racetrack. There's 5 minutes, a little less than 5 minutes to go right now as everybody continues to basically get what they can get. Alex, I'm just looking at the leaderboard. One driver that's not a factor that I'm sure a lot of folks thought would be Kyle Larson. He's all the way back in the 16th position of single lap runs, and just looking across the lap averages, not even in play at all.
Well, and throw in the fact Larson's only run 12 laps of practice, and that's it. Chris Wilner, what's the latest down there with Kyle Larson?
Well, the only reason why he's only run 12 laps, Alex, he's spent a lot of time here in the pit box on pit lane with the attention of his HendrickCars.com crew. Cliff Daniels spending a lot of time with this race car because Kyle's just saying it continues to be tight in 1 and 2. They've tried everything, some shock adjustments, some other chassis adjustments, including air pressure, and it hasn't seemed to remedy the issue. So Kyle continuing to fight a tight race car here, and they've just been able to take the opportunity with the interruptions in this practice session to work on the car a lot more than maybe they had planned on it. But the problem is they still haven't found a solution. So a tight race car for Kyle Larson, not happy with the handling of his Chevrolet. They're going to see if this last change here will help for Kyle, but currently struggling here in practice.
Actually, these two interruptions that we've had in practice, I think, has benefited Cliff Daniels and Kyle Larson to be able to digest what they're trying to come up with a game plan and to implement those changes. Because as we've got a red flag, that doesn't mean the cars that are on pit road can't work on it. Unlike our race situation, when we go to red on the race, nobody can work on it. The guys on pit road, they can still work on what they need to during these breaks. I think it's been a benefit for the 5 team.
It's interesting, though, to hear Chris describe they're making all these changes and the car isn't responding. Connect the dots on that. I know it's frustrating for a crew chief. We tried this. It's still not working. Why perhaps maybe would that not be the case, where they can't get the car where they want it to go with the adjustments they've made so far?
Well, I think a lot of things may be that they're making mechanical changes, and it's an aero challenge that they're fighting. You know, we talk about how the diffuser makes all the downforce. There's a lot of downforce in the back of these cars. Where their front heights are can dictate where the balance of that downforce, how much is on the front, how much is on the rear. It may be just an aero challenge that they're trying to fix with mechanical pieces, and they found that the mechanical pieces don't touch it. They've got to come back and think about their aero platform.
How much of this, Todd, in your opinion, is it the fact that it's still only, 10:35 a.m.? We're not going to race until afternoon tomorrow, where it's going to be warmer and maybe sunshine beating down on the track. Can that throw a crew chief into a chase your tail type of scenario?
Well, it can, and the fact that the pace is so fast here is not really relevant to what we'll see. But if I'm fighting tight right now as the track loses grip, I'm worried that I'll fight tight worse. So I think you still want to find that balance and figure out what you can do to move yourself in that position.
Well, Kyle Larson just went back out onto the racetrack, and he turned a lap at speed, and he's not improved at all. Now 17 laps in the books for Kyle Larson, and just watch him coming off the racetrack. Right now he's coming out of turn number 4. His last lap speed was, or time was 37.405, and as Larson comes across, he's 37.573. So they're not gaining any on it at all with what they've just done to the race car, at least in the 2 laps he's been back out on the racetrack.
Well, he's not the only one that's not up at the top of the leaderboard. Look at a couple of the Team Penske cars. Ryan Blaney's 26. Yeah, he had the cut-down tire. Joey Logano is 28th on the leaderboard in single-lap speeds. The third Team Penske car, Austin Cindric, a little better. He's up to 12th. But then you throw in Josh Berry, the Wood Brothers car. He's 29th. Eric Jones is 30th on the leaderboard. Kyle Busch is 32nd on the leaderboard.
So as we look over now for 15-lap averages, Ty Gibbs fastest. John Hunter Nemechek, second. Alex Bowman, third. Ryan Preece, fourth. Noah Gragson in fifth. Austin Dillon, sixth. Got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in seventh. You've also got a Spire car in Michael McDowell in eighth. Josh Berry, ninth. And Cody Ware in 10th. So we're looking at the single lap runs, obviously, as 1 lap. But when you broaden out a little bit, the numbers and the people and the players change.
So the 15-lap average is only going to be Group 1. Because we didn't go 15 laps before Blaney ended up with his cut tire. So it cuts down the 15 consecutive lap piece where it only ends up being Group 1.
Looks like the red and black flags are flying. Practice has concluded here for Group 2 cars after the 2 cut tires, one from Ryan Blaney, one from Tyler Reddick, and practice has wrapped up. Chase Briscoe ends with the fastest speed in single lap at 195.482 miles per hour. Christopher Bell was second, Chris Buescher third, Alex Bowman fourth, and Austin Dillon was fifth.
Sixth is William Byron, Tyler Reddick in seventh. Eighth is Denny Hamlin. Bubba Wallace is ninth. Carson Hocevar is 10th. Ty Gibbs 11th. Austin Cindric is 12th. Ryan Preece is 13th. Ross Chastain is 14th. And Noah Gragson is 15th. You got Kyle Larson in 16th. Chase Elliott in 17th. Brad Keselowski 18th. Zane Smith 19th. And John Hunter Nemechek 20th overall.
These are single lap speeds. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 21st. Todd Gilliland 22nd. Michael McDowell 23rd. A.J. Allmendinger 24th. Cole Custer 25th. Ryan Blaney was 26th. And Daniel Suarez 27th. Joey Logano 28th. 29th was Josh Berry. And 30th, Eric Jones.
Shane Van Gisbergen 31st. Kyle Busch 32nd with Ty Dillon 33rd. Riley Herbst 34th. Cody Ware 35th. And Justin Haley, the 36th and final car in practice for the Firekeepers Casino 400.
Coming up in just a moment, qualifying to set the starting lineup for tomorrow's race. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
At Aero, we believe it's time to get more Wi-Fi from your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi that delivers on the promise of Wi-Fi 7 with lightning-fast speeds and minimal latency. Wi-Fi that lets us do all the things all at once and keeps us safe at the same time. It's time for Wi-Fi that's so reliable and easy, you don't even have to think about it. It's not too good to be true. It's just Aero. Learn more at Aero.com. That's EERO.com. Aero, the way Wi-Fi should be.
More awesome, more smoke, more sizzle, more soar, more roar, more friends, more family. Welcome to the one place where no matter who you are, you'll leave with something you'll never forget. Welcome to Pocono, June 20th through the 22nd. Get your tickets now at PoconoRaceway.com.
Back here at Michigan International Speedway, practice and pole qualifying from Michigan International Speedway is brought to you on MRN by E3 Spark Plugs. Stuck in slow motion? Unleash the NASCAR fire inside your engine with E3 Spark Plugs. Forget pit stops, too. E3 gives you maximum fuel efficiency for more miles on the road and less time at the pump. E3 spark plugs. Power, speed, domination. Get yours today.
Let's check in with Steve Post.
Ryan Priest down here has the bright green Castrol colors on this car. I always love this paint scheme, just bright, flashy Castrol colors on it. I listened to a little radio. You said, guys, we're good. How good were you guys in that practice, Ryan?
Yeah, I feel like we were pretty solid. Really, really happy with this Castrol Ford Mustang. You know, and tomorrow I think the emphasis is going to be is qualifying here today. I think track position is going to be a big thing, but also we'll see how much wider the racetrack gets tomorrow with it being somewhat during the day. So, yeah, proud of these guys, man. They've just been doing a great job during the week.
Did you get a chance to run around other cars to get a sense of what your car is going to be able to do in traffic?
Yeah, I did. I ended up catching a few people, and you know, it's going to be tough. It's definitely not going to be easy to pass, but you know, depending on how wide the track gets and that, it'll at least give you options to try and find some cleaner air.
There we go. Ryan Priest. He's going to be part of the first group out qualifying here this morning still.
And he talks about how wide the racetrack gets. That's how much rubber gets laid into the racetrack and takes away the grip in the primary grooves. We've seen this racetrack get to the point where the third groove, maybe even the fourth groove late in the race, can come into play, as it's still kind of it's that virgin territory that the asphalt still has, has grip in it, that the tire's not loaded into it, and it becomes an option. When you get to that point, you can go find clean air in those areas.
Why is it some racetracks you want rubber on the track, and that's the fast way, and there are other tracks you don't want to be in the rubber that's been laid down?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and it has to do with the track surface itself and where it's at. You know, you get to some of the places, most of the time you want to get away from the rubber, but you need a little bit to get yourself where it's consistent for you.
Let's check in with Steve Post. Catch up on John Hunter Nemechek.
John Hunter Nemechek down here walking with his car. So we have Todd Gordon as our analyst up there, championship-winning crew chief, and he said he really liked the lack of fall-off speed in your race car, how it felt or how it looked time-wise over the long run. How did the race car feel over the long run, John Hunter?
Yeah, it felt really good. The men and women at Legacy Motor Club have brought a really good Pye Barker Toyota Camry XSE. Not really sure how we'll qualify. I think we still have a little bit of work to do at one-lap speed, but our car didn't really fall off. So proud of the effort, proud of the work. Still need a little bit to be better and to have the balance that I want, but overall it was a solid practice session. We'll take it.
Last couple of weeks, some really good performance. Last couple of months, actually, good performance by you and Eric Jones, your teammate. What do you attribute that to? How are things going here at the Legacy Motor Club?
It's been good. There's been a lot of hard work, a lot of processes and procedures, a lot of good hires over the offseason, right? We just didn't know how long it was going to take to get to where we feel like we needed to be. There was really no way to judge it going into Daytona or early in the year. So looking forward to seeing what we can do the rest of the year, but we've definitely stepped up our mile-and-a-half program. Still need some work on our short track and road course program, so we'll have a good test of that here over the next few weeks and see where we stack up.
I'll say they will. Lots of road course racing coming up. That's John Hunter Nemechek here. He'll be qualifying. Looks like he's about the 12th or 14th car going out on the racetrack.
Yeah, and he mentioned some of the same things Todd had mentioned just a little earlier in our broadcast about the continuing to build the Legacy Motor Club, the building blocks. You got to get the right people in place, but you just can't go grab people. You got to make sure that they're available and aren't contractually locked in with other organizations or teams or whatever the case may be. Once one opens up, you got to be ready to offer them what they need.
You've been in a position to where you've been a leader of men, right, Todd? You've been a crew chief, and you look for certain qualities in people. You look to build a certain type of team. What are some of the things that you used to look for when you maybe needed to add a crewman? You maybe needed to add a mechanic. What kind of things perked up and caught your eye that you thought could add value to the race team?
There's two things that I would focus on: attention to detail and positive outlook. When people look forward, I'll go back. You know, when I was at Legacy to do the 3 races with Jimmy, I just came in to call the races. Robbie Fairweather was the car chief there. I tried to hire Robbie back when I was at Team Penske to be an underneath mechanic for me because he was always getting things done and he was always had a smile on his face. didn't ever take anything back. If you can keep that kind of environment in your people, I think that group will drive a group to great places.
Qualifying has now begun here at Michigan International Speedway for tomorrow's Firekeepers Casino 400. First driver on the track taking the green flag is going to be Noah Gragson. Gragson will sail off into turns 1 and 2. Noah Gragson finding his footing at Front Row Motorsports this year. 2 of his 3 top 10 finishes this season has come in the last 5 races, but yet he's still yet to crack the top 10 here at MIS and NASCAR Cup Series competition. Had a challenge last week, got swept up in an accident, wasn't able to complete the race. That team, Alex, has had a lot of ups and downs, but in this practice session so far, that team has had a lot of speed from Front Row. We'll find out what kind of speed they're going to have as he comes down to take the checkered flag. The first driver to get a time and speed in is Noah Gragson, 193.939 miles per hour. Let's hear from A.J. Allmendinger. He's with Chris Wilner.
Yeah, the sun's out here on pit road. A.J. Allmendinger's got the shades on. You're going to be last in this first group of qualifying, but how was practice for this Kaulig Chevy?
It was okay. I think the action industry Chevy needed probably, on average, about a tenth and a half. Just kind of fighting tight, but the place is fast. I'd rather fight tight than loose. So, qualifying will be interesting. I think pole will probably be wide open, so it's seeing if I can get myself to do that. But, yeah, I think we know the areas to work on, and we had average speed, so hopefully we can get a decent qualifying here and then work on and be ready tomorrow.
This place is also all about commitment. What's it like at 9:30 in the morning having to go barrel off 200 miles an hour in turn 1? Were you awake at that point?
It's the best wake-up call you ever get in your life. So, it's... I don't know. I was laughing because I don't know if it's worse now or back in the day when you knew you were going to run like 220 down the straightaway, but you at least got to lift a little bit down in the corner. Now you're running about 200, but you're probably not lifting a lot. So either way, you just hope the balance is good and it sticks when you roll off in there.
Appreciate your time. A.J. Allmendinger again going to be last in Group A, coming off a 20th place finish at Nashville. He's an Xfinity Series winner here at Michigan in the past.
Matter of fact, he won that Xfinity race back in 2021. I imagine when you roll out of the rack in the morning, get a cup of coffee, maybe a sip of orange juice, put your driver's suit on, next thing you know, you're barreling off into the corners 200 miles an hour.
No doubt. We hear the term all the time from drivers, high commitment to go off into the corners wide open. Look, I've had my commitment issues. I'd have a hard time with that right now. So, it would be tough to sail the car off there no matter what time of day it would be.
Yeah, definitely is. It's one of those situations. You sit up here. Mike Bagley's over here doing a little impersonation where the gas foot's on and the other foot's on top of the gas foot. I've actually talked to Michel Jourdain about IndyCar racing and Champ Car racing before he came. I got to crew chief him when he came over, did a couple years of Busch Series racing back then. He talked about that at Indianapolis, that he actually had to do that. Take his left foot, put it on his right foot to hold it down there. It's just a commitment. You're sailing off here and trusting. As AJ said, better to be a little tight. You're not ending up on the wall that way when you've got to do something like that first thing in the morning.
Cody Ware has just put in the third fastest lap of the 3 that have gone. It's Noah Gragson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Cody Ware, Justin Haley is on the racetrack right now. Coming up, we got Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, Shane Van Gisbergen, Riley Herbst, and Ty Dillon, with a slew of others as we're just getting going with qualifying. Don't forget later today, matter of fact, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, the NASCAR Racing Network on the air with the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the DQS Solutions and Staffing 200. And don't forget, tomorrow we're back with the Firekeepers Casino 400. Motor Racing Network on the air at 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, NASCAR Live Race Day. We're going to count you down and get you rocking and rolling here in these Irish hills of Michigan.
Justin Haley gets his qualifying lap in. He'll go to the 3rd spot of the 4 drivers that have taken time. So it's Noah Gragson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Justin Haley, and Cody Ware. The driver on the track right now, Todd Gordon, has everybody's attention. That's Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, he's had a ton of speed, full commitment here all the way through. We'll see where it plays, but I would expect this to be a really big lap.
Here comes Ty Gibbs down the back straightaway, and it just looks to the naked eye just fast. He'll take that Monster Energy Toyota Camry. Doesn't look like Ty Gibbs is having any commitment issues, Alex, as he works his way out of turn number 4.
He's young. He's young, and here he comes up off turn number 4, down to the line. Checkered flag goes in the air from Shannon Bednarik, and Ty Gibbs indeed goes to the top of the leaderboard in a big way. 194.979 miles per hour, 36.927 seconds.
I think that's beatable. I do. He's wide open all the way around here, but I think that's beatable. I think there's some room in the line for guys to beat that.
We saw speeds that went north of 195. Normally, when we practice and qualify, you obviously set a lap in practice. But when you come back from qualifying, in large part, we see the speeds get faster. Do you anticipate the climb from practice speeds to qualifying speeds?
Yeah, I would expect this to be a faster run. You've got the tires blown up to where they're going to make maximum grip. You've got an opportunity to do everything you can to be one lap, not the long lap here. I do expect this pole speed to be faster than what our practice speeds were. I think there's some room left there.
Here's Alex Bowman. He, too, was one of the fastest cars in single-lap speeds in practice today or this morning. Here he is to the line. Checkered flag is in the air for Alex Bowman. Second best for Bowman, 194.716 miles an hour. So, Todd Gordon, if you're wide open around the racetrack and these cars are so equal, how can you go faster than the competition?
If you get your balance where you've got less steering wheel slip in the car through the corners and maybe not using up all of the racetrack exiting turn 4, a freer balance will go faster until you get to the point that you're loose, as AJ was commenting about earlier. But I think some guys may be able to get a little steering wheel back out versus that and go a little faster.
Let's check in with Steve Post.
Hunt Brothers Pizza is what Joey Logano has on the side of his race car. Just watching qualifying here. Joey, what did you have in your Ford Mustang? What was the feel you had here in practice session?
That wasn't too bad. Just kind of interesting practice session with so many cautions. You keep going in and making changes, but I think the Hunt Brothers Pizza Mustang was decent. We'll see what it's got here for qualifying. It's always a surprise, so we'll see what happens.
Is there a significant difference, race conditions and qualifying? Are there teams that set up maybe more for race conditions, more for qualifying conditions here at this racetrack?
There is. You can make some decisions on whether you want to have downforce in your car or drag out. And you can argue both points, but qualifying is definitely going to err to the cars that have the less drag in it. So we'll see how that turns out for everyone when the race starts, right? Just so you kind of get a little bit of that decision-making process to see how that goes. But, well, like I said, everyone's about wide open out there right now, so you gotta put them up on the dash and go fast.
There we go. That's Joey Logano.
We'll see what Joey does here in just a bit. Austin Dillon got his lap in. He'll go to third on the leaderboard. Shane Van Gisbergen is on the track right now. He'll exit turn 4, wide exit, and rips the car right down to the bottom underneath the white line for Shane Van Gisbergen.
Of course, he had a problem in practice with that flat left rear tire. The crew has obviously replaced that. Shane has just turned in the third fastest lap of the 8 that have gone so far. 37.075 seconds, 194.201 miles per hour.
So that gives us 8 cars who have taken time, with Riley Herbst up next. Let's hear from Austin Cindric with Chris.
Austin Cindric getting ready to climb aboard the discount tire colors on his Penske Ford Mustang. Austin, Michigan means something when Team Penske's here, and of course wanting to get the Heritage Trophy. How is the speed in your Ford Mustang? Can we contend for pole here?
Yeah, I think it should be close for us. I really feel good about our discount tire Ford Mustang, and obviously want to bring home a win for Roger at home, and as well as Ford Motor Company. It's a big one to have those bragging rights, and definitely want to be the ones to get it done for the Blue Oval.
You just told me it doesn't feel that fast when you're ripping around here. Why is that? Because standing on pit road, 200 miles an hour is fast.
It is fast. I always think speed's relative. Sometimes Martinsville feels faster than 200 miles an hour, but it's fun though, man. Whenever you get to hit that 200 number, it does. You think twice at least the time you turn off, because okay, you're looking at the truck sitting on pit road and you're like, okay, I'm blowing by those pretty quick as you're kind of bouncing up and down the front straightaway on low air, going 200 for lap 1. But otherwise, it's just, it's what we do. It's what I love doing, at least. So it looks like it's gonna be wide open for qualifying. 3 and 4 is gonna be really close, but it looks to be the case. You gotta hit the marks right and go get her done.
Well, you're a lot braver than me. That's why I'm on this end of the microphone. Austin Cindric getting ready to qualify here, gonna try to hold it wide open for a lap at Michigan.
And it's not just the speed you got to contend with through the corners. It's the G-forces on the body as you work your way down into the corner. And that's where everything has to be just right. Your seatbelt's got to be right. The seat's got to be form-fitted just right. Have the headrest position just right. Driver has to be full comfortability when they go sailing off into the corner.
We always talk about horsepower here at Michigan International Speedway. Let's visit with a man that has helped create a lot of it, along with the legacy that his father created in the horsepower department. Steve Post?
Yeah, Doug Yates down here with Roush Engines. First off, developing horsepower in Michigan, boy, you got to either be really, really excited about this or really, really nervous about it. What is it, Doug?
Yeah, well, we love racing in Michigan. I mean, it's one of our favorite tracks, the backyard of Ford Motor Company, home of Jack Roush, and my dad and I always had a lot of success here, so this is a track that we always look forward to coming to. We put everything we got into coming here and trying to win. It's our winningest racetrack as Roush Yates. We won 18 races here, so I think we have some pretty good cars today, and qualifying is going to be interesting to see how we turn out.
Todd Gordon has spent some time this morning talking about this early morning practice session, early morning. Are you feeling a little bit better that we're almost through this portion of it?
Well, nothing makes an engine builder more nervous than practicing at Michigan at 9:30 in the morning. Yeah, fastest speeds we're going to see all weekend. So, yeah, we'll get through today, get through qualifying, and we'll get set up for tomorrow.
You mentioned the Heritage Cup Trophy, Ford Motor Company. Can you just describe to our listeners how important that is for each manufacturer, all three manufacturers respectively, but in your case, the Ford camp?
Yeah, as an engine builder and coming here racing with a Ford Motor Company to win that trophy and to send it back to the headquarters here in Detroit is really something special. Been able to do that with Mark Rushbrook, Tim Farley, and all the great people, Edsel Ford and Bill Ford, their families will come out here. So we take a lot of pride in racing here, and winning that trophy is something that's really important to us.
We wish you well, Doug.
Thank you, Steve.
There we go. That's Doug Yates, Roush Yates Engines. He built some steam, and it's been on display many, many times here in the Irish Hills of Michigan.
Yeah, it has. It's on display right now. One of their engines is gone to the top of the leaderboard with the legendary Wood Brothers. Josh Berry to the top of the leaderboard, 195.016 miles per hour.
Brad Keselowski comes across the start-finish line to take the checkered flag. He'll log in 6th of the 12 that have taken time with a 37.801, a 194.170 mile per hour lap.
Right now, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification on the Motor Racing Network. Motor Racing Network live at Michigan International Speedway. We are qualifying for the Firekeepers Casino 400. My name is Alex Hayden. Mike Bagley is to my right. Todd Gordon to my left. We're high atop the start-finish line. Up and down the pit lane are Steve Post and Chris Wilner.
Right now on the racetrack, John Hunter Nemechek for Legacy Motor Club has taken the green flag. Coming up, we'll have Ryan Preece, Cole Custer, Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell, A.J. Allmendinger, Daniel Suarez. That'll put us just past the halfway point in qualifying. But as we mentioned, a Legacy Motor Club Toyota on the racetrack, and it's taking the checkered flag right now.
With John Hunter Nemechek aboard, 5th fastest is where he'll slide in provisionally out of 13 drivers that have taken time. Josh Berry the quickest, Ty Gibbs is 2nd, Alex Bowman 3rd, Ty Dillon is 4th, John Hunter Nemechek 5th, Shane Van Gisbergen is 6th, Brad Keselowski now 7th, 8th is Austin Dillon, 9th is Noah Gragson, 10th Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 11th is Justin Haley, 12th is Riley Herbst, and 13th is Cody Ware.
Moments ago, Steve Post had a chance to visit with Ryan Preece. Ryan is now laced up and buckled into the Castrol Ford Mustang. He's just taken the green flag. This is a team that obviously showed a lot of speed in practice. They feel they will race well. And right now, Ryan comes off the end of the back straightaway. Looks like he's got a decent lap or so. He'll ease the car in towards the bottom reaches of the corner. But now that car gets wider and wider coming out of turn number 4. And now he'll angle that car right down to the bottom of the racetrack looking for the checkered flag.
Here he is. That green, white, and red Castrol Ford will be 6th quick for Ryan Preece. Preece goes 6th. That'll move everybody behind him obviously down 1 spot with Josh Berry still the quickest.
Cole Custer is on the racetrack right now, and of course this is a driver that Alex Cole's been looking for a lot. They've had a lot of challenges this year. They have a lot of support from Ford Motor Company, but Cole, after racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series for a few years, finds himself back in the NASCAR Cup Series with, how should we say, a lot of performance headwinds for that Ford Mustang team.
Yeah, he is one of, 4 teams that are running full-time here this season in the NASCAR Cup Series, yet to score a top 10 finish. So they expect more, and quite honestly, they want more out of that team and more out of that performance, but there's no denying, after going from a 4-car organization down to just one single car and a bit of a rebranding there at the Haas factory team, they're going to lose some of that, and it's going to take them some time to build that right back up.
Right now, Cole Custer is 7th of the 15 that have taken time so far. Back downstairs to Chris.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe getting ready to climb aboard his Toyota Camry with the Bass Pro Shops colors. Practice single lap speed looked good. What do you think about qualifying and going for another pole here this year?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. The whole field's wide open, so it's going to come down to all the little details here coming up to speed, kind of like a Daytona or Talladega. So, yeah, see who can do it best.
Is 3 and 4 going to be the tricky spot, you think?
Honestly, just coming up to speed, I think. So, yeah, 3 and 4, I mean, you're just going to have to be really precise here with all the little things. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
See what they have. Joe Gibbs Racing trying to get another pole with Chase Briscoe, getting ready to qualify here at Michigan.
3 poles already this year for Chase Briscoe and that team. He's one driver that's waiting to go out. Another is with Steve Post.
Ross Chastain down here. The Watermelon Man has apples all over his race car here as they're celebrating the apple harvest and Busch Light apple-flavored beer. And Ross, this racetrack, what'd you find out about your race car in that practice session earlier today?
Well, Postman, we kept the air in all of our Goodyear Eagles for our Busch Light Apple Chevy. That's the first thing. Obviously saw several failures, and we're not immune to that a couple weeks ago at Charlotte. So happy for that. And then from there, yeah, we made our car better. We were too tight to start, and we just kept working on it. Made 2 adjustments, and then keep cycling these Goodyear Eagles. It's gonna damage them more and more. So we called it short and played it safe, and we got like 2/3 of the way there on what we needed. We just need to get the corner exit is the last part of the corner we need to fix.
How tough is that to put together the corner exit without impacting the center and the entry of the corner? Is that kind of the challenge when it comes to dialing these race cars in?
That's why Justin Marks pays me to drive it and Phil Surgeon to crew chief it, because that's the hard part.
There we go. That is the hard part. We'll see what happens. That is your reigning Coca-Cola 600 champion, Ross Chastain. And he always gets a smile on his face when I mention that to him. So Ross Chastain getting ready to climb back aboard.
Ross Chastain, 7 top 10 finishes here in 2025, including that Coca-Cola 600 win that Steve Post just referred to. Trackhouse Racing on the upswing. However, hit and miss performance consistency has been an issue when you look at the collective effort between Ross and his teammate Daniel Suarez.
Well, and Ross Chastain individually, Michigan may not be high on his list as far as finishes. Only one finish better than 24th and 7 Michigan starts. Back downstairs to Chris.
Christopher Bell was second behind his teammate Chase Briscoe in practice. Single lap speed is good. Christopher, what's the approach to qualifying? You think you can contend for the top spot?
I don't know. It practiced really well, but in qualifying trim, there's a lot of grip added to the cars, and we've already seen a couple of them be able to go flat-footed. So typically, whenever you can hold your foot down, we don't qualify as well. It seems like, I don't know. I think we'll be top 10, but I don't know if we're going to be able to contend for the pole.
What's going to be the biggest challenge about putting a lap down? It's one thing to hold your foot wide open, but also to make sure that you're getting the most grip and getting the good launch off the corner.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're able to hold your foot flat, it just puts more of an emphasis on getting to the green. So make sure that we do that well. And then it really comes down to how much drag you have in your car. So typically the guys that win the pole will be able to be trimmed out a little bit more and maybe not race as good tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I've been wrong before.
That's Christopher Bell getting ready to climb in again. Really good in practice. Hard to believe, guys. He doesn't have a top 10 here at Michigan. Maybe hoping to change that this year.
Perhaps maybe that'll change tomorrow in the Firekeepers Casino 400. Michael McDowell's turned in the 15th fastest lap of the 18 that have taken time. A.J. Allmendinger just took his Kaulig Racing Chevrolet to the 5th position with a 37.013, 194.526 miles per hour. From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Every time the siren sounds or lights flash, someone's life is on the line. At Whelen Engineering, we know first responders carry that weight every day. That's why for over 70 years, we've led the emergency warning industry, designing and manufacturing the lights, sirens, and safety systems they trust right here in America. Because when the mission is critical, there's no room for second best. Whelen Engineering, trusted to protect first responders.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-212-2828. 800-212-2828. That's 800-212-2828.
And MRN.com.
Halfway through qualifying for the Firekeepers Casino 400 here at Michigan International Speedway, Josh Berry is the number one guy at this moment, the only driver in 195-mile-an-hour territory, 36.920 seconds, 195.016 miles per hour.
Let's hear from a driver who's already got one win this week. And here in the state of Michigan at that. He's with Chris Wilner.
That's Carson Hocevar. Got the Money in the Bank win at Berlin Raceway over in Marne, Michigan earlier this week. So you're coming in with a lot of momentum. Not only the fact you finished second last week at Nashville. How's the speed in the Ziegler Chevrolet? You got the gold colors on it. Does it feel like gold on the racetrack?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it feels pretty good. It's not... our standards have gotten a lot higher here lately, so, I think we got a little work to do, but I feel good about it. It's fun to go run the truck, too. We start second at that. So we got a really good, truck, and I think we got a pretty good car, so hopefully we can get the Ziegler Auto Group, 50th anniversary car up front. And, you got to get an opportunity. Jeff Striegel, I'm sure, is listening, all pumped that we heard Berlin and heard Money in the Bank, so hopefully we got one of the three so far for the week.
So far, so good. I know you're running the truck like you mentioned, not really similar race cars at all, but what can you take away with the on-track experience to help you, especially in this car tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, just being able to, just run this track, you just got to be comfortable for how fast we're going, right? And just more laps, more reps with obviously draft and in the pack and everything. Granted, it's a lot different, but it definitely helps, especially if we could get a trophy and it just adds a little bit of confidence when you walk back into the garage the next day.
I know there's been a lot of, you in the news lately, but momentum is a big thing for race car drivers. When you look at the results and what this Spire team is bringing, how much are you feeding off of that when you show up to the racetrack?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is. It's not just me, it's our owners, our partners, everybody that works on the car, and everybody that goes over the wall. So, I mean, everybody's intensity just gets up a little bit.
Carson Hocevar getting ready to qualify again, fresh off that Berlin win, second place at Nashville, feeling pretty good as he gets set to go qualify.
Daniel Suarez has just turned in the 18th fastest lap. Zane Smith on the track right now. Talk about Carson Hocevar, obviously, in the headlines this week. Second place finish last weekend at Nashville. This is a driver, Alex, that I feel is on the cusp of driving into victory lane. Perhaps maybe it'll happen before we get to Darlington to start the playoffs. We could be chatting about a playoff-eligible Carson Hocevar coming up.
Could very well do that. He is a driver that has made a lot of fans, but on the same token, made a lot of enemies that he's racing against as well.
Zane Smith just turns in the third fastest lap. 36.937 seconds, 194.926 miles an hour. Austin Cindric takes the green as we go back to Steve Post.
Denny Hamlin has the Yahoo colors on his Toyotas. He makes his way over to the race car here. And Denny, Michigan, how have you found things up here with your Toyota this time?
It's pretty good, and one of the better Saturday sessions that we've had at this track. And just got to try to balance it for what you need here for one lap versus what I need for tomorrow. Obviously, it looks like it's wide open here, so I'm still going to play a pretty big role in trying to get the car up to speed. But after that, it's all in what these guys built in this Yahoo Camry. But focused on tomorrow, I feel like we're pretty good, and just got to fine tune it, and we'll be right there.
Boy, when Denny Hamlin's talking about fine-tuning, that's usually a pretty good sign. He will be the next to last car to take a qualifying lap here this morning.
Denny Hamlin can get around Michigan International Speedway, twice a winner here in the NASCAR Cup Series. As a matter of fact, finished top 10 in 7 consecutive races.
The driver that has won the last 2 Saturdays in the NASCAR Cup Series is on the racetrack right now, Chase Briscoe, going for his 3rd consecutive pole this year in 2025. He has just taken the green flag. He is on the racetrack right now. He exits turn 2 and makes his way down the back straightaway. The mark that he's trying to beat, Alex, is a 36.920 or a 195.016 mile an hour lap set by Josh Berry in a Ford a few moments ago.
And right now, the Bass Pro Shops Tracker Boats Toyota of Chase Briscoe works his way up off turn number 4. He too will go all the way down to the flat apron. Can Briscoe go to the top of the leaderboard?
Yes, he will. Wow. 36.826 seconds, 195.514 miles per hour. And it would look to, at least at this juncture, appear that Chase Briscoe is on his way to his 3rd consecutive pole position victory. However, we've still got a lot of heavy hitters to go in this qualifying round.
Yeah, there's a lot of good race cars lined up on the pit lane to go out there and qualify, including the driver on the track right now, Chris Buescher, who was awfully fast in practice earlier today. And here's Buescher up off turn number 2. He'll rocket his way down the backstretch here at Michigan. You know, this track, 2 miles, it's a D-shaped track with the front side being bowed out just a bit. It appears to be ultra smooth. Just how smooth is this track?
It's pretty smooth. It is pretty smooth. As you look at it, the track surface now 13 years old, but it's pretty smooth. It doesn't have a lot of content to it. Allows these kind of crew chiefs to set the cars down on the stops and put them in a position where they can make some speed.
Chris Buescher has just completed his qualifying lap, and he comes oh so close to Chase Briscoe's mark. 36.908 seconds, 195.080 miles per hour. That puts him 2nd on the leaderboard so far.
Let's hear from Ryan Blaney. He's with Steve Post.
He will be the last car to go out and qualify with Ryan Blaney as he watches Kyle Busch hustle that car down into turn number 1. Ryan down here just kind of getting some notes from Raymond Fox, longtime car chief down here. Ryan, first and foremost, running around Michigan, we've talked about the speed, we've talked about the early wake-up call. What's that like with a cut tire in the middle of it?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it could have blown in a lot worse places, like into 1, off of 2, into either other corner. So I was thankful that it blew when it did on the front stretch. Was able to catch it. So yeah, definitely a good wake-up call. You're already hammered down and early morning practice, and that definitely catches your attention pretty quick. But got pretty fortunate. Hopefully we can put a good lap down and see where we start tomorrow.
What was your sense on your race car as far as the handling characteristics of it?
I felt okay. I needed to be a little bit faster. I needed to have a little more pace, just kind of tight, bound up. So hopefully, we'll fight a little bit tomorrow to help it give a little bit of, feel in the front end and go from there.
That's Ryan Blaney. He will be the last driver to take time here this afternoon.
Kyle Busch puts down a heck of a good lap. Kyle Busch, 2nd fastest right now in his BetMGM Chevrolet from Richard Childress Racing. Chase Briscoe still atop the leaderboard. Now Kyle Busch 2nd, Chris Buescher is 3rd, Josh Berry 4th, and currently 5th is Ty Gibbs.
Got a total of in the top 10. You got 4 Chevys, you got 4 Fords, and 2 Toyotas. As we continue to work our way through this qualifying session, I'm sure that'll change. Eric Jones would love to make that change, but he'll fall just short outside of a top 10 run. He is 12th right now with a 194.416 mile per hour lap.
Well, how consistent are the 2 Legacy Motor Club cars? 37.031 second lap for Nemechek, 37.034 second lap for Jones. 3 1/1000ths of a second difference between those 2 cars from the same race team.
Chase Elliott has taken his, what would you say that, Alex, is a teal-green colored machine, the UniFirst colors off the end of the front straightaway. What do you think, Todd?
Sure. Teal, seafoam green, could be in those ranges, but a good-looking car.
Yeah, it has mint green connotations to it as well. But either way, the car pops as it works its way down to the corner, and it's fast as Chase Elliott dives it down into turns 3 and 4. He runs right above that bottom seam on the track where the banking really catches the car out there as Elliott brings his car to the checkered flag.
Checkered flag is waving. Chase Elliott takes it all the way onto the apron, 9th of the 26 cars that have taken time so far. 36.997, 194.610 miles per hour. If you're just joining us, Everybody is in hot pursuit of Chase Briscoe. Right now, the mark to beat is 36.826 or 195.514 miles per hour.
Here's Ross Chastain. Will take the green flag and set sail for turns 1 and 2. Chastain right up against the outside safer barrier on entry to the corner. Drops it down a good car width off the white line that separates the banking from the flat apron. Chastain rockets down the backstretch.
Right now, he is about a half a lane off the outside wall, and watching him come off the end of the back straightaway, it'll look like he'll go to the bottom, but he'll stay about a lane and a half off the bottom through the beginning and middle reaches of the corner. He'll swing that Chevrolet wide against the safer barrier and now ease it down towards the white line at the start-finish line.
And Ross Chastain's lap, it will be 12th fastest of the drivers that have taken time here so far. There's still quite a few to go here, but we are getting down to it with Chase Briscoe still the fastest.
Tyler Reddick is next up on the racetrack, defending winner of the Firekeepers Casino 400. Tyler Reddick had a flat left rear tire earlier in practice. They were able to take the car back to pit road, get a new tire on the car. Right now, Tyler Reddick has just taken the green flag with Christopher Bell, Bubba Wallace, Carson Hocevar, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney yet to qualify. Once those drivers take time, qualifying will be all buttoned up here from Michigan.
Tyler Reddick on the back straightaway in the Mobil 1 Toyota Camry XSE. Cut down a tire in practice. Had some assistance getting back to the pit lane. His car no problems right now as he works his way through turns 3 and 4 and back to the checkered flag.
Bringing the Mobil 1 colors off the corner, and Tyler will not go on the apron, but he will snuggle up to the white line at the bottom of the racetrack. Tyler Reddick 8th overall with a 36.954 lap, 194.837 miles per hour.
From Michigan International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
You've never been one to idly watch someone else do something for you. There's pride in self-reliance, in working with your hands, in harnessing the power of an E3 spark plug with Diamond Fire technology, yielding better engine performance. You have a choice to make. Take control of your ride, of your life, or be the passenger princess of it. Visit e3sparkplugs.com to put the power in your hands.
At Aero, we believe it's time to get more Wi-Fi from your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi that delivers on the promise of Wi-Fi 7 with lightning-fast speeds and minimal latency. Wi-Fi that lets us do all the things all at once and keeps us safe at the same time. It's time for Wi-Fi that's so reliable and easy, you don't even have to think about it. It's not too good to be true. It's just Aero. Learn more at Aero.com. That's EERO.com. Aero, the way Wi-Fi should be.
A little earlier, we heard from Christopher Bell on the pit lane, said he didn't anticipate he would be contending for the pole position. He was right. His lap is good. It was 18th best, but just watching telemetry from his race car while he was on the track, he was in pole position contention until turn number 4.
Yeah, turn 4 was not kind to Christopher Bell right there. Had to roll out of the throttle. Was looking like he was going to take the number 1 spot, but then he just continued to plummet on the telemetry, and he'll log in the 18th position. Here's a Toyota teammate of Seabell's in Bubba Wallace, who'll take his 2311 Toyota Camry across the line.
He'll be in the top 10 for the moment, at least 6th for Bubba Wallace, as he got his qualifying lap in, nearly 195 miles per hour. The speeds are up, comparatively speaking, from what we have seen here in the past. But these drivers, they are showing that they are doing uncommon things by going completely flat out around this Michigan International Speedway.
Carson Hocevar is going to take his turn at qualifying. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney yet to qualify. We're just about done. Let's see what the Spire Motorsports entry for Carson Hocevar can do. Sporting a gold and black paint scheme this weekend here at Michigan.
Ziegler.com, Ziegler Automotive, the sponsor on there, been a longtime supporter of Carson Hocevar from about 60 miles west of here in Portage, Michigan. Here he is, down to the line. Checkered flag is out for Hocevar.
Hocevar comes across the line to accept that black and white checkered flag. 10th overall, a 36.973, 194.737 mile per hour lap. Kyle Larson now off the end of the back straightaway as he dials up that HendrickCars.com Chevrolet entry to accept the green flag, and he'll take his turn at qualifying.
After practice, he had been battling a tight condition with his race car, meaning front tires not wanting to grip the track as well in the middle of the corner. See if his team were able to get him some comfort as they get set for qualifying. He dives it off into turns 1 and 2, rides right in the middle of the racetrack through turns 1 and 2, and heads for the backstretch.
Kyle Larson is a 3-time Michigan winner. All those wins came back to back to back in 2016 and 2017, but the unfortunate stat of the day for Chevrolet, that win in 2017 with Kyle Larson is the last time a bow tie drove in the victory lane here at this racetrack.
Yeah, they are desperately wanting to get back to victory lane here at MIS. Here's Larson to the line. Checkered flag is out. Pretty good qualifying lap for Kyle Larson.
Third overall, 36.889, 195.180 miles per hour. Kyle Larson becomes the 5th driver in qualifying to eclipse the 195 mile per hour mark.
Chase Briscoe still the fastest right now with 4 drivers remaining. Joey Logano in his bright red Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford now comes down to the line. Green flag goes in the air, and Joey Logano begins his qualifying effort.
Of course, Joey Logano told us earlier in our practice and qualifying coverage that to win the pole here at Michigan, it's going to take a level of intestinal fortitude in which to accomplish that. Well, Joey's off turn number 2 right now. We'll see what the telemetry says and see if he's able to take that number 1 spot away from Chase Briscoe as he takes his red Hunt Brothers Pizza Ford Mustang off the end of the backstretch.
Lap looked decent for Logano through turns 1 and 2 down the backstretch. Let's see if 3 and 4 is going to be equal as he comes up off of the corner and find out where Joey Logano slides in.
Joey Logano takes the checkered flag. 12th overall, not the lap he was looking for. 36.975 seconds, 194.726 miles per hour.
We have a Chevrolet, a Toyota, and a Ford remaining. The Chevrolet is William Byron. He's on the racetrack now. The Toyota is Denny Hamlin. The Ford is Ryan Blaney. Green flag is out right now for the Raptor Chevrolet Camaro out at Hendrick Motorsports Stables, and William Byron is the driver.
William Byron, the winner of the 2025 Daytona 500 to get the season started. He's finished runner-up here a couple of times. Hard to believe that Willie B is yet to drive into victory lane. Who knows? Tomorrow could be the day, but obviously in order to do that, you would love to have a good qualifying run. Let's see what the lap is that he'll turn in as he eases that Chevy Camaro. A little higher on the racetrack than some of the others, but looks like he's got a lot of speed in his race car.
He does. His teammate from Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson, qualified 3rd so far. Byron's going to try to best that as he comes across the line.
3rd quickest, 37.878, 195.238. Now 6 drivers have gone into 195 mile an hour territory. The next to last driver to qualify will be Denny Hamlin, flying the purple Yahoo.com colors this weekend. Of course, Denny's had, Alex, a lot of up and downs to his season. The plane of consistency has been interrupted on several occasions here this season. However, Denny has been known to have a lot of speed, but he's got 2 wins at Michigan. The question is, which 11 car, which Toyota Camry will show up this weekend? The race contending one, or the one that's going to have to scratch and claw for everything they can find?
To your point, that the peaks this year are the 2 wins that he's had. The valleys, only 1 top 10 finish in the last 5 races of the season for Denny Hamlin. See if he can continue to try to climb back up to be a peak as he makes his way off turn number 4. Denny Hamlin, the penultimate driver to qualify.
Denny Hamlin sees the checkered flag waving at the start-finish line. He's going to give his teammate a run for the money, but he's going to fall short. 3rd quick, 36.861, 195.328 mile per hour lap. So Denny Hamlin right now is 3rd. Now we see what Ryan Blaney has, whose practice time was cut short because of a flat tire. Of course, Ford is known to flex muscle, Alex, but Chase Briscoe is on his way to winning his third consecutive pole position. But the only driver left between him and that is on the racetrack in Ryan Blaney.
Blaney heads for turns 1 and 2 in the Menards Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Bottom of the racetrack he goes through turns 1 and 2, flashes by the administration building that is out in the midpoint of 1 and 2. Blaney halfway down the back chute here at MIS.
Here he comes now, dialing up the end of the back straightaway. Turns 3 and 4, we're looking at the telemetry. It's going to be tight, but as Blaney comes out of the corner, he's going to lose a lot of time right there. Here's Ryan Blaney. Checkered flag is waving at the start-finish line for Blaney.
He may have touched the wall coming off turn number 4. He got very close there as the checkered goes in the air, and it shows up on timing and scoring. 13th. For Ryan Blaney, and that means Chase Briscoe has captured his 4th pole position of the season. His 3rd consecutive pole, becomes the first driver to win 3 consecutive poles since Kyle Larson did that basically 1 year ago. So Chase Briscoe will start first in the fire keep